Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing of Age of Heroes, a Marvel game by Wizards Games. Wizards is famously known for doing hero clicks, and then the Dice Master sets as well. So it's a little bit, and they do other X-Men games and other Marvel games as well. So it's also interesting. This is called Age of Heroes, but it is an X-Men themed game. So I don't know if there's a plan to eventually do like Age of Heroes, like Avengers expansion or Spider-Man stuff, add some other characters and mix and match. The thing, the way the game is designed, like if they would have done it differently, I don't think mixing and matching would have been any problem. But they kind of designed it in a way it doesn't mix and match. But what is this game? That is the ultimate question. Marvel Age of Heroes is an epic strategy game in which a player commands a duo of X-Men who are dispatched to defeat the villains and complete objectives in unique and challenging scenarios. The winning team will collect resources, manage their skills, and train their mutants to outpace the competition, earning victory points along the way. So it is a resource management game. It's more or less like you're trying to defeat the bad guys and win that way, but you're also competing against the other team of X-Men. So you have a bunch of different groups of pairs of guys, which is really cool. You're going to get enlist an elite allies to fight for the Professor Xavier's cause. Use uncanny mutant abilities in critical missions, so we're going to unlock different themed allies from different teams, and defeat classic villains in 3 unique scenarios. And it's the scenarios are the reason why I said I don't know how well this would mix and match with other stuff. Just because they kind of have it built into that. But we can definitely take a look at what we have. So before we get into like every individual little aspect, we're just going to look at some of the base components. So your objective here is to score the most victory points, earn victory points mainly by doing damage to villains. But in order to do that, you'll need to take actions to build up your resources, improve your mutant abilities. You can also use victory points through special cards and characters. And at the end of the game, the player with the most victory points wins. It is a 60 to 90 minute game, 2 to 5 players. And we have a bunch of symbols. We have a big giant rulebook here, of course, and we will look at those in a minute. But I just want to kind of look at some of the other resources or components first. So we're going to get a big giant board here, which I am just going to lay out like that. So this board is going to have a lot of stuff on it. On the bottom here is a victory token tracker. Goes all the way up to 99 points. You may or may not get to that. We have a couple of different things on the top here, which are different areas you can go to. We have team-up cards. You can decide. So we have a group of team-up cards here. We can actually grab those quick. Take a look at those. I want to get rid of that stack. So we have some blue team-up cards. So these will all be like mixed into the different games. And they have the little symbols. Blue symbol goes with blue. They're blue cards. They go with the blue. These are various X-Men you can recruit to help you out. And they're based on some of the different teams. We'll look at that a little bit more. And then up here on the top are the different areas we can kind of use to like recruit our other team. We go like the medical base, cerebro, danger room. We have research lab and dormitories down here. This is where they recruit yellow cards. So we have, they'll have these kind of symbols on them, which match these. These are your allies. It's just some other different X-Men, different teams as well. So we get those that go in there. Then the other thing we're going to have some, this is also determined on what objects you can get, what resources you get, all this fun stuff there. We have an excursion zone. This is where you actually then move your characters if you want to go to fight the combat. And we actually have some villains we have to fight. And you can get some extra team-up cards in there as well. If we flip to the other side of the board, we have Headmaster's Office. So some of your basic things you can do there. There's turn order, which is going to matter. We have X-Jet, which you send guys out on missions. And we're going to get into all that when we get into there. But there you have the Institute deck. We have a discard pile at the top. We have Xavier protocols that go across the top there, plus some extra spaces. The other deck of cards we have here are event cards. So there will be various events, which would be kind of like just some different other non-ally stuff that happens, which will get you extra bonuses there. The last couple of cards we have objectives. So we have different parameters for different ones. So we have 3 main scenarios. We have Fatal Attractions, Children of the Atom, and Fall of the Mutants. And each one's going to have some different parameters on how to deal with playing that particular mode, how you earn resources, things like that. So we did get a little extra cards there, kind of like rule reference cards. And we have a deck of mini cards. These are going to be evolution cards for our various heroes. Stormforge, Magic, Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue, Cyclops, Jean Grey. And these will be on the other side. We'll have their various abilities. Cyclops can get Optic Blast, Field Leader. If we jump into Rogue, his Absorb Memories. Gambit gets, Ace Up Your Sleeve. Jubilee has Fireworks. Lockheed has Flight. Dark Child. So we get some different evolution abilities so you can upgrade your characters and give them different things they can do that might be optional effects. They might be like getting extra spaces, extra resources for doing various things. We're going to get a ton of different tokens. So we have just some generic ally tokens, some students that might help you out do various things. We have some different counters here in 5 different colors for each player, which can be used on various parts of the board to keep track of different things. You have a white player, a gray player, a pink or a magenta, a blue aqua, or a deep purple. Then one of the really fun things is we're going to get our acrylic standees for all your different X-Men. So these are the actual characters you will use in the game. And you will see there are various emotes of each one. Some characters have 2, some have 4, some have 3. It's just they're represented as their resources. Was also in there some of the extra tokens here. They're also acrylic. I haven't unwrapped these yet. What's also I love is you flip them over, they are double-sided. That is fantastic. There's a lot of times acrylic stuff, they don't bother to do that. They just draw one picture, and it's double-faced on both sides. So it's kind of neat that they do this. And this is like your main resource. So if I'm playing as Cyclops, I'll have 3 Cyclops tokens I can move around. I can gain other stuff to do. And then we get a bunch of standees for all those. And then the last set of things are all our cardboard tokens. So we are going to have these big giant tiles, which are going to represent our villains for different scenarios, like the Fall of the Master. Or Fall of the Mutants, we're going to get the Master, which are versions of Apocalypse. Plus, we're going to get player boards. Now, this is one thing that's interesting is there are 10 different characters in the game. 9, actually. Sorry, there's 9. But they each have their own board, which has their evolution slots down here. Shows how many different, shows where their pawns will go on there. They can have student pawns, but then shows their different resources and where they start at. So, but they're all teamed up. So Foreman stars start with 4 red, 2 yellow, and 1 blue. Whereas if we flip to one of the other characters, if I can figure out where they are. So if we jump over to like Gambit and Rogue, who are teamed up, they have basically the same starting stats, which is fine. But if I'm just gonna pop these out quick so we can kind of look at them. But they do have a couple of different starting things. So like once they get their evolutions for 3, 4, and 5, they get different resources at different amounts. And then their hero pawns are different. So it's gonna depend on which ones you get. So after you get so many, you have to put a Gambit, Rogue, Rogue, then Gambit, Rogue, Gambit. Where here you're going to get Forge, and then you get more Storms. So they're a little bit different there. On the back side, they actually have an advanced side, which has just some extra little abilities on there as well. Which is kind of cool. So you get a little bit different way to play as each character. Then we're going to have some more villains. We have the big red ones are the final villains. We have blue ones, which are lieutenants, which are like the medium level villains. So like Magneto for Fatal Attractions is red, so he's like the boss, the final boss. The lieutenants are like the mid-level guys who are going to fight throughout the games. And we'll look at each one of these a little bit more. Now on the backs, they're going to have the different colors. So like I think they might all be the same. But then we also have these little bars here as well for each different thing. So if you're playing Follow the Mutants, this attaches into these boards to give them different stats that you have to try and beat. And we'll look at this a little bit more in the rule book here. I just want to go over the base gameplay. So we have a couple more characters there. Wolverine, Jubilee, some more villains. Jean Grey and Cyclops team up. Shadowcat and Lockheed get a team up together. This is the only why we have 9 instead of 10. Magic plays by herself. She does not use anybody else. So she gets all her own minions, or her own standees. Then we do have challenging enemies. So these are more of your basic level ones. So you got to defeat the challenging. The challenging are the mid-level. Some are listed as lieutenant, but they're the yellow color. Just depends on which group there. But you can also see some of the purple ones over here, which have different levels for easier level things you're fighting. And then here we have some minor enemies, which are in, like, gray. So they're a little bit easier to fight. They have less symbols in there to beat. And it says when you beat them, replace them with a challenging enemy. Then when you beat the challenging enemies, you fight the masters or the leaders, last guys. So that's kind of cool. And then we have a bunch of tokens. So we have villain tokens, we have victory point tokens, we have resource tokens, surplus victory points if you ever go over 100. The extraction zone tiles, we have a couple of those. And if they flip over on the backside, lots of them then flip over to 3s. Actually go up to 200 in case you're really crazy. But yeah, so those are our different tokens. So that is what we have. We're going to look at each individual card and character and all that stuff a little bit more in depth in part 2. Because I want to spend part 1 just kind of going over the rules. Here's just reintegrating, going through like all is in the book. We want to look at what we have here. So the Institute setup. Because it's nice to know what the game does before you look at all the cards section. If you don't care, you just want to see what all the cards are, head over to video 2. That's perfectly fine. So here's our board at the beginning of the game. You're going to have some cards up at the top. Main deck. But yeah, you gotta shuffle these up in different ways. It says place a game board. Place the 1 through 3 extraction tile on the extraction board. Keep the other extraction zones near the board. So we had for this one, so it says like 1, 2, and 3. Then we flip it over the other side to 4, 5, 6. You have one for 7, 8, and on the other side is 9 plus. So they're going to be just different things for how far you're getting through the game. Place all your tokens, have them ready to go. Choose one of the 3 missions to play. Children of the Atom is recommended for first. Fatal Attractions or Follow the Mutants. And then follow this up and deal 4 cards from the Institute deck to the Xavier Protocol board at the top. So this deck you have to make up will be made up of several different cards. So on the bottom of the cards, it says place all the Children of Atom parameter cards at the bottom. That was special ones we looked at. That's these guys. Then you're going to shuffle your core deck and Children of the Atom Fall Mutant Institute cards together. So all of these big cards are Institute cards. They all have Xavier's name on the back, even though some were extras, some were allies, some were team-ups. But on the bottom, they'll say core. So all the core ones go together, no matter what. And this is where you could mix and match potentially. But by also you had Spider-Man, then you have Spider-Man core mixed with X-Men allies, or vice versa. It might be kind of odd. But then if you're playing Children of the Atom or Follow the Mutants, you're going to use some cards like Ink or Karma. But then if you're playing Fatal Attractions, you're going to use like Pharaoh and Havoc. So certain cards will only be available in certain modes. It's kind of weird that they have 2 for one, 1 for the other. I guess if they had like 1 for this, 1 for that, 1 for that would have made sense. But still kind of odd. Next is attach 1 random minor energy to a villain. 1 random minor enemy villain tile to each mission tile and place A and B together on the game board. And it says randomly select 1 final test villain, place it face down. Side of the mission board on the game board, shuffle the challenging enemy villain tiles and place them face down. Any unused to the back to the board. Attach one random minor enemy villain tile to each mission tiles A and B and place them below. So if we're going through, if I can find these quick, we have for Children of the Atom and for Fatal Attractions, we have Mission A and we have Mission B. So you're going to end up taking both of these parts and you're going to attach them to one of the characters for that. So if you're playing Children of the Atom, you might be fighting, Avalanche, Pyro, Blob, Toad, or we have like Mesmero, the Brotherhood, basically. And then if we were fighting, so they're going to be used for, they do say Children of the Atom, but I think they're used for all of them. They're just the minor enemies. And then you will have the challenging enemies, which are all the bigger ones. So I'll say Children of the Atom on them as well. You will actually just shuffle all them together, and you won't know which one you're going to be fighting, so you randomly draw them. And then you're going to pick one of the red ones from... so here, if we're doing Fatal Attractions, we have some Acolytes. So if you're doing Fatal Attractions, you'll pick actually the Acolytes as your base ones. And then they'll replace with the Lieutenants, which are the higher level ones. And they say take the final test for Children of the Atom. If you're doing Fatal Attractions, the final one becomes Magneto. And then Follow the Mutants works a little bit differently because you use the Horseman and Apocalypse. So yeah, each one will have like certain selected A's and B's, and then you'll have a random set of middle ones, and then you'll pick a random last bad guy to fight. Yeah, so it's kind of just showing each setup here. For Fatal Attractions, the same idea. Mix the core deck with Fatal Attraction stuff. Then put your parameters down, put your A-B character, get ready for doing your next one, your final one, your Magneto and your Lieutenants. And it says, also place the Fatal Attraction parameter cards, and add the villain token pool. So yeah, there's a slight little setup there. Then the Follow the Mutants with Apocalypse works a little bit differently. Same thing, Children of the Atom or Follow the Mutants. But in step C, you attach one random horseman to its tile. So you play against all 4 horsemen, but they have a little bit lesser bars to deal with. You have to fight 4 instead of 2, but they have half as many spaces. And then place Apocalypse down there. And they don't get replaced with a random other guy. So that's basically how that works. So take all your cubes, your discs, and your pentagons. Store them. Choose a player board based on your heroes you want to play. Blue side is recommended for the first time. Goal is for experienced players. Take the evolution cards for each your hero. If you agree to use the blue side of your player boards, only take the evolution cards that have the word recommended on them. If you agree to play at the gold or advanced size, select the number of evolution equal to the number of black rectangles shown below the evolution on your player board. So, if I am playing Stormforge, I just get to take the ones that say recommended on them. But if I flip to the advanced, it says I get to take 5 cards. So you have to kind of mix and choose. They each have a bunch of different ones. And that's 5 between each different player. Or different characters. So if I go back to, if I find the beginning of this. So here we have Storm, for example. She has a recommended. She has 2 recommended. And she has a 3rd one there. And then Forge has 2 recommended. So there's 5 different recommended cards. But if I'm playing with them, I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 cards each, 5 for each character. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4. So you pick a combination of the 2. That's how you'd have to do that. Makes sense. So you kind of get to pick what you do. Put your starting cubes on your starting spaces. Put all your characters on their respective spots. So it says, here we go. Draw 3 cards from an instant deck to keep as your hand. So you might get allies, you might get team-ups, you might get events. Take the hero pawn, place them on your board as indicated. Number of players. In a 4 to 5 player game, place heroes on the blue spaces for a total of 3. In a 3-player game, also place heroes on the marked space 3. On 2, place all 6. So this is what it's showing here. Is if I'm playing with lesser players, I'm only going to use these 3. Or I'm playing with more players, I'm only going to use this 3. That's just to shorten the game up. As you're playing with less players, you're going to add more players. So you're playing a 3-player game, you're going to add another one here. You're playing a 2-player, you use all 6 of them. And that's just to help make sure you have enough stuff to be able to do things. Place the score marker, the hexagon on the big board up here. Insert your resource markers we showed, and then randomly determine the starting order and place the circles on the counter track up here. So that'll be your 3 different types of icons. Alright, then the overview of the actual game is divided into a series of rounds in 2 phases, Institute phase and Mission phase. During the Institute phase, players take turns assigning a pawn to the Institute action space or placing 1 hero pawn on the X-jet, while they'll build up their personal resources. And during the Mission phase, players will take turns assigning heroes from their X-jet to the Mission action spaces. Note the parameter cards you chose include extra rules when playing. So some overview on the icons. The little green one's allies, the blue one's team up, and the exclamation hazard one is event, which are showing on the top of the cards as well. So we got, event cards have those. So very easy to tell them apart. Resources match their colors, willpower, mental, physical, and any resources. And then damage is a little bit different. We have gray, purple, green, orange. And then some other icons. Draw 1, convert, villain tokens, victory points, place a card on the Institute in Xavier's protocols, play a card, turn order, student, pawn, and evolution. So yeah, most of these will kind of make sense. Up is draw a card, down is play a card. Turn order matches the turn symbols up on the board up there, so that helps put them kind of together. Evolution cards will have the little symbol on the bottom of the evolution card as well. Which is a little DNA strand. And the student pawns, of course, look like the student pawns. So it's very iconography, helps link everything together. Yeah, so then we have a bunch of other different stuff in here we're going to do. Taking turns. On your turn, you have 3 options. Assign a pawn, hero, or student to an empty Institute space. Place a hero on the X-jet, or pass. Means you'll take no more turn. In Institute space, basic action space, printed on the game board, or one of the 6 Institute locations, or an action space on an ally card in one of the locations. So what this is going to mean is if I put my character's pawn up here in the medical bay, I have the option of using these abilities up here, which are playing event card and has to do with turn order. Cerebral has to do with playing a team-up card or an evolution card. Or if I have an ally already down in here, for example, if I have, let's just grab Megan here, and she's already in here, I can instead use Megan's ability instead, which lets me gain some resources. So it's kind of neat. So you get some different options based on what you need to do. And then we have the basic headmaster's office over here. So that you put a card up in the protocols, that you have more cards up to buy, either 2 or 3, or drawing them. Put one down and then draw some cards. And then if you have more players, you can actually go down here and gain extra resources. So kind of look at those really quick. Between 2 and 4 actions of the headmaster's office, depending on the number of players. Top 2 spaces available for all player counts, allows player to resolve 2 effects. First, place a card if you have one from your hand and go an empty Xavier protocol slot. If there are no empty slots available, choose 1 card from the protocol and discard it to the Institute, and then place your card in a now empty slot. Second, draw an Institute card into your hand. As noted on the action space, there's no maximum hand size. So you gotta place one of your cards down and then pick up another card. Then you draw face-up cards from the protocol, the top of the Institute deck, or a combination of the 2. So it's kind of neat. So it's either the deck, which is random, or you can pick up stuff from the protocol. Someone else placed a card down, you can pick one up. Playing 4 players was a 3rd action. And 5 players, there's a 4th action. Each of these allows you to gain various different resources. Again, it's to help keep the game moving. We have the medical bay. So there are two actions up in the medical bay. Each one allows you to resolve one of 2 effects. First, play an event card from your hand. A second, choose your place in the turn order for the next round. So this is a very critical thing in this game, is the turn order. Because if you want to be able to purchase cards first or being of missions first, you might want to go earlier. But on the other hand, maybe you want to go later so that you can see what other people do and maybe place new cards down and have more options. So you're going to kind of be playing around choosing your turn order as well. Cerebral lets you play an ally card into an empty ally space, or lets you play one of your evolution cards. Danger Room, Research Lab, and Dormitories will each let you gain one of their resources. So, for example, if Jubilee place your pawn in the Danger Room, gain 4 physical, she moves from 2 to 4. So, there's just stuff that you can spend to use other cards and other access. The other option you can do is place your hero on the X-Jet. Placing a pawn in the uppermost left spot of the X-Jet, the first player may play a team-up card into the ally slot. Note with X-Jet location has pawn spaces on it. These do not count as action spaces. Placing a hero on the X-Jet space does not count as assigning a hero. Instead, you can also just pass. Instead of assigning a pawn or placing a hero, you may pass. If your turn begins and you have no pawns in your playboard, you must pass. So when it gives you an action, so if I start off the game and I have all 6 of my characters, I'm playing a 2-player game, I can choose to move Forge, and then my turn's done. In my next turn, I can choose to move one of my Storms. In my 3rd turn, I can move Storm. And I can be like, I'm done. I can pass after that. Or I can keep playing until I use all 6 characters. So it's not like you get one action and that's it. You get to use it for each different character you have. Once you have passed the remaining passes for the rest of your turn, other players continue taking their turns. But here's one thing with passing. You decide to take no more actions. You must now pick your order for the next round. White already occupies the first space, so you put him in that new spot up there. So you have a choice to go 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or last. So you can, decide when you want to go in the turn, and then everyone else kind of gets shoved around wherever you are. So each different card has just some different stuff in there. Card name, team, affiliation, icon type, action spaces. So if it has one of them white blocks on it, that's an action you can do. ID number. So they'll have just saying, so you can keep track of where they are. Special effects and deck name. So some of them will have special rules on there. Some will have resources. You have to pay 6 and 4 to be able to activate this spot before you can use it. And some just have effects. And your evolutions are very much the same exact way. So playing ally and team up cards. Choose an ally from your hand. Choose an empty ally slot. So it's going to be anyone with the ally symbol on it. So they can only go to the green spaces. Team up can only go to the blue spaces. Events are just played and then go away. Pretty easy there. Well, a player is not the recruiter of an ally or team assigns a pawn to a space. The recruiter gains the recruitment bonus marked on the game board to the right of the recruiter's space. So it's the saying here. Assign Wolverine to Cerebro and playing ally card. Iceman in the left space on the danger room. Place the player marker on the recruiter space above the ally card to show you recruiting an ally Iceman. And then you get his bonuses. So whatever it is. So if I play him here, I can get a student. If I play here, I get to draw a card. Playing the other 3, you get an extra resource. So yeah, playing them things also helps you get stuff there as well. And then there's abilities that trigger here and there. So example of a recruitment bonus. Opponent places a Cyclops on the Iceman action space and gains 6 physical resources. So Wolverine placed Iceman, so he's going to get the extra 2 for placing Iceman, but then now Cyclops can jump on there and get that. So again, you play first, you might not get all the bonuses, but you play last. Everything else is going to be available. But since because you recruited Iceman, I gain 2 physical resources. So I only gain them because I recruited him. If nobody puts them on there to gain them, I gain nothing. But that does help you getting them bonuses. Normally, each ally team-up card will have 1 recruiter. If more than 1 player is on a recruiter space. As an attempt someone plays Bound Family, both players are going to be considered recruiters. Playing evolution cards, which are very much the same. So you assign Wolverine to Cerebro and play your evolution, Jubilee Evolution Fireworks. The first evolution slots in your player board have already had an evolution card. So place the fireworks in the third slot, paying a cost of 2 physical and 1 resource. So your first 2 are free, and then after that they start costing resources to put a card underneath them. And again, Wolverine can place it, but you can place a Jubilee card. It doesn't matter there. So that is the basis of how to go ahead and play all those cards. So we're going to look at the mission phase. Alright, so in the mission phase, so once you're done, so basically you want to spend your first turn or whatever, or you could do both. Some of your characters do one, some do the other. But you're going to use that to recruit the Institute phase to get more characters, get more resources, generate more energy, play more team-up cards, stuff like that. Get more evolution cards, make your guys stronger. That's the point of that. Then in the mission phase is when we actually get to start getting ready to attack villains. And a mission action space is either an action space on the team-up card, in a team-up card space, a basic action printed on the game board in the extraction zone, an action space on an ally card in the extraction zone, an action space on a mission tile attached to a villain. So we have the team-up card, so all team-up cards are considered to be in the same location. So anything in this mission phase area is all considered to be the same thing. The extraction zone consists of 1 basic action. You can fit any number of heroes, so it has a little infinity marker on there. In round 1 to 3, gain any resource or spend 1 mental resource to gain 2 cards, and then each round you go faster, or go up, you're gonna get different other abilities. And yeah, it's a neat way because it keeps the game progressing, so you're not like ever feeling like you're getting stuck, like, oh, I just gotta wait, or I can only do one thing this turn. It's always gonna keep pushing. Each mission tile and villain pair is considered to be a separate location. All of the action spaces in a single mission tile are considered to be in the same location. Yes, we have some different mission and villain tiles combine to create spaces that allow villains to be damaged by spending appropriate resources. Since mission tiles and villains are randomly paired, some action spaces won't be matched with damage icons on the villain. You may only assign a hero to an action that is matched. So it's showing, like, if we grab 2 of these characters really quick. And I'm not even going to grab 2 that necessarily match together. I'm just going to grab 2 just to kind of show the example. But if we were... Because, yeah, this is Follow the Mutants, and this is for Fatal Attraction. But the idea is, like, I have to pay 2 of each resource to do damage to this spot. It can pay 7 of each, but there's nothing there. So that won't affect that. So this one, this one, this one, this one, then this one doesn't do anything. So that's basically how it's going to work, and each different villain might have different stuff. So this is one of the lieutenants, but you get into, like, the masters, they're going to have more spots. If I grab, let's see if I can grab a lower level character, such as Toad here. Yeah, we'll grab Toad's. So this is Children of the Atom, mixed with Children of the Atom. So yeah, we have all these different stats here, but you can see he's only going to be able to hit him in these 4. So even though that, but that kind of makes this interesting because Toad is being, like, compared to Blob. They have different stats in different spots. So even if they have the same card attached in one game to the next, they're going to have different things you have to go against. You can't always have the same exact strategy every time. You can't jump into a game being like, okay, I know to beat villain A, I have to have this resource, this resource, this resource exactly, and then go do it, because it's always going to keep changing. Which is always definitely fun. When you assign a hero pawn to a matched action space, spend the resource shown on the left space, play the marker over the damage counter to the right, and gain the victory points showing to it. So, Wolverine's going to move over there, pay 7/7. He places a damage icon over there, and they gain 8 victory points. So again, if we grab like one of our characters here, so Blob would be like 15 if I beat that one, 12, 11, 11. And then eventually if I cover all 4, he is defeated. Dealing damage with cards. Some effects will deal damage to a villain. So basically the same idea. So it says damage dealing damage to the team of cards. Assign Jubilee Pawn to an action space on Karma. Allows her to place a player marker on any available purple damage space. Spend the resources. So I'm paying 7 and 8, and I just immediately put it on there. I don't have to worry about putting them on the board, but I can only damage that symbol. So this also makes differences. So if you're playing against Blob again, I'd be able to do the 15 here at the top, but I wouldn't be able to touch the other ones. So it might be beneficial, but if I was fighting against Toad, Karma's ability wouldn't have any effect, because he has no purple. So it's kind of, again, interesting thing. 1 player marker per damage. Once it's been placed on there, players may assign a hero pawn to the maximum spot or use another damage over it. Defeating villains. All damage are covered up by the player marker is defeated. Resolve any special effects listed on the tile. Resolve the special effects in current turn order. Discarding student pawns from the defeated villain to the general supply. In current order, any players who have missions on their attached to defeated villains reassign them unoccupied extraction zone space from the action on that space. 1 hero at a time before moving the next player, repeating all players have been reassigned. Some may have you do stuff, some may have you replace the villains. No, it's impossible to defeat a villain in the Institute phase with the use. It is possible to defeat a villain with use within certain spaces. Either case, follow the instructions above. So example here, we finally defeated Avalanche. You, the pink player, have 2 markers, so you draw your cards. And then each opponent here have 1, so they each draw 1 card. So the gray and white player each get 1. So here we go. Then student pawns in the topmost action are discarded to the general supply. So someone used a student instead of one of their heroes, so that's great. They sent random student character to go fight, but they just get discarded, so they're disposable. When you have a Wolverine pawn in the 3rd space, decide to reassign it to the extraction zone. You can spend 1 mental institute and draw 2 resources. So yeah, and then you get your stuff there. Each player takes back their tokens, and then you draw the new character. So very simple there. End of the round. When all players have assigned their heroes from the extract, or skipped past up everything, perform any round instructions on ally or team cards, any end of round on parameter. Each player takes back all their heroes, pawns, and places them back on their board. So you just start back over. Move any assigned student pawns, place them back into the general supply. So certain characters, you show Wolverine Jubilee, can have up to 3 student pawns. Storm and Forge only get 2. But once they're used up, they're used up. And then each player takes back their marker from the turn column. And then moves their player marker on the order column from the left to the right. So what that's going to mean is you should have two of these different player markers you can use for these. So like during my turn, this would be the order everyone's going. And then as they're playing through, each person will put their new color here. So at the end of the round, you'll get rid of this half, and then you can slide all them over easily. It's just easier to keep track of which one did where. Move the round token 1 space forward on the score track. So this will also keep track of your rounds. And certain rounds you do extra different stuff. It's showing you flipping over your extraction tile to a different thing. Just explaining that right there. If there are 4 or fewer cards in the Xavier protocol, deal the top cards until there are 4 face up. There are 8 cards in there. Discard all cards in the protocol. And deal 4 new cards. This is also an interesting aspect of the game. So up at the top of the board, we have the Institute protocols at the top. We have 4 colored spots, and we have 4 dash spots. So if you have less than 4, you always fill up, so you have that. But if players play up to 8, they can drop a bunch, and it'll reset the entire thing. So it could be a good strategy to restuff, or to restack it, refill it, get different options. Or it could be a way to mess with the other players. Hey, they really wanted that guy, you could reset the entire board. Game ends. When the parameter or mission card tells you the game ends, it ends immediately. For example, if you would not continue defeating the villain steps, such as returning your pawn to the extraction zone. Game ends out by your victory points, and player wins. The player with the most willpower, then mental, then physical resources is still a tied. The player share the victory. So some of these might be, so obviously if the last guy I'm fighting is Magneto and we beat him, that would end the game. So like Fall of the Mutants, when the Master tile is defeated, Children of the Atom says final test when the final tile mission is defeated. And then I think the other one's probably the same thing. Yeah, Asteroid M. So they have various differences, more or less just defeat whatever the last guy is, and then the game ends. There's no like surprise thing like if you didn't do this, then you lose the game. So there's a bunch of additional rules. I'm not going to get into too much of all of these. There is conversion there. Some have the right arrow, some have a down arrow, which will tell you whether you're spending something to the left or the right. So this is saying I'm converting one of these tokens into those, versus we saw some of the other ones where they might show left or right on the board. And like your player boards, I'll show them you're spending those resources to put into that ability. That's pretty much all that means. Resource victory tokens have stuff on both sides. Villain tokens, use it to pay for certain effects. Tokens and player gifts are not limited. If you run out, use acceptable substitutes. So that's a good thing to note, because some games might be like, oh, I only have X number I can't use anymore. But you do have a limit resource. You may never have more than 10 or less than 10 of a resource, which is what's on your board. So basically, you can't spend over what's on your board. Any resources can be used for anything. Drawing cards, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn order. If you choose your turn order for the next round, place a player marker on the empty space. In a 5-player game, use all 5 space. 4, use only the top 4, so on and so forth. You may not have more than one turn on there. So this is showing, like, go assign Cyclops to the Richter spot, giving you 3 willpower and allowing you to place the player marker on empty space on the turn track. So I can place your marker on the topmost space and you go first in the next round. Student pawns. When you gain a student pawn taken from the general supply, place on empty student space on your board. If you have no empty spots, you may not take one. The temporary pawn you may assign to an action if the opponent's student pawn counts as your pawn during the action's resolution, does not gain any benefits from the end of the round effects or evolution cards that specify a hero. After resolving the action, student pawn counts as an opponent's pawn for all players, including you. Student pawns are assigned during instant phase on the turn signed, but may never be placed in an exjet space. Then scoring tokens you can flip over if you score more than 100. And there's the basic rules of the game. Yeah, so and then you always keep this up if you just want a quick reference for any of those. So this is a very interesting game. Let's say we'll do a part 2 here, which will actually go through and look at each character, all the villains, all the different cards and stuff, and the characters a little bit further in depth. But yeah, it's a giant resource management game. You're going to be moving your pawns around the board, trying to gain resources, to then move them to the villains to do damage. And you can kind of play it as a shared victory game, as a cooperative game, being like trying to help each other out by like, hey, our goal is we have to defeat all the villains before X turn, but ultimately it's a game where we're supposed to be just trying to compete against each other. It's kind of how you want to play. I don't know if there's too much in here. I don't usually read all the cards before I play, because I like to go into this stuff kind of blind, like with the unboxing with the rest of you guys, but I don't know if there's a lot of stuff that's going to be like necessarily like hurting other players. like attacking them, I think lots of stuff is just going to be affecting what you do. But we'll definitely see when we get into the game. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Just check out part 2 if you'd like to see what all the different cards are. See you guys there. Bye.